The 2018 WWE Hall of Fame induction ceremony is about to start. So they're on the red carpet right now. You have Maria Menounos, who does it every year, with Byron Saxton. They have Charlie Caruso, who looks unbelievably stunning, showing that cleavage in that dress. They also show Alexa Bliss, who's gorgeous, as always. But just as gorgeous as Alexa Bliss is her mom. Her mom looks like her twin. She is... Wow, she must have had Alexa very young. She could be a female star in the movie. She has the looks for it, for sure. They show, again, a lot of wrestlers coming. They showed Ronda Rousey. They interviewed her. They also interviewed her husband, Travis Brown. He's an MMA fighter, too. They interviewed Kurt, a whole bunch of wrestlers. It's kind of nice to see everyone out of character. So they opened up with Jerry Lawler coming out, and then they start off with the introduction of the Dudley Boys, who are being inducted by Edge and Christian. So Edge and Christian do a great job inducting them. Both of them did a really good job. They had the Dudleys appear on Edge and Christian's podcast a few weeks ago to announce that they're going to be their inductors. They did a great job. You have to give them both credit. And Christian, I think, will go in the Hall of Fame very soon, probably next year. Devon went first. And, he actually works with the company. He's an agent. So Devon was starting. He did a really good job, was really entertaining. And then Bubba, I'm assuming, would have a long speech. And he went on for a while. They brought up Spike Dudley. That was kind of cool. He got praised. He told a really good Mae Young story. One thing I really liked is when he shouted out Velvet Sky, who's his girl. I don't know if they're married yet, but future Mrs. Dudley. It does surprise me. Velvet Sky is very beautiful. It surprised me WWE never had any interest in going after her. I never really got that. So this whole speech was really good. They ended up, what they did was they brought out the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian, all of them on stage together, and the three of them, all six guys celebrated. Three teams, all raised their hands up in the air, praising the TLC match. And I think Devon says he wants another TLC match, and they all left the stage, and it was a really entertaining speech. So that was definitely the best way to start. And I think probably what might be the most over speech with the fans, because the others are very over. So then they went to next guy was Hillbilly Jim, being inducted by Jimmy Hart. Obviously, wants Hulk Hogan to introduce him. That's not going to happen. Hogan's not going to be at the company, I don't think. Maybe not ever. I mean, yeah, that's just a mess. But Jimmy Hart inducted Hillbilly Jim. He did a good job. And I have to say, I think Hillbilly Jim's probably going to have the best speech of the night. It was incredible. It was very long. It was long, but man, it was a great speech. And, I got emotional at the end. He says, when he dies, he just wants to be remembered. And that was actually a really powerful line at the end. So that was long speech, but that was probably going to be the best speech. And I don't think anyone tops Hillbilly Jim. That was great. So they do this whole thing every year. They do this legacy inductees. A lot of names. That's what they do every year now. Some of them you kind of think should have their own Hall of Fame induction, but I guess it is what it is. So Ivory, she's inducted next. So Molly Holly interacted her. She got no reaction, but she did. She did. I guess she was close to Ivory's career, but Molly was the one who's inducting. Ivory's speech was weird. She talked about 9/11, and she talked a lot about Glow. She did a good job. Ivory's speech, she talks a lot. It was a fine speech. I think with her, some people are I didn't think it was as bad. Some people are complaining she did talk too much, but I thought it was fine. So, she's a female inductee, as they do every single year. Ivory, again, people complain whether she's Hall of Fame material or not. I just think, Chyna and Sable should have really gone in before this. But I don't have a problem with Ivory going in. And, of course, they had to play that Righteous Century music, which drives everyone nuts. So up next was Kid Rock. He's inducted by Triple H. Kid Rock comes out. And so for Kid Rock, his speech is it's going to be one of the most talked about. He says he's... obviously Kid Rock, very hardcore Republican, big-time Trump supporter. Hell yeah, MAGA. I'm a big Trump supporter, if you don't know. So If you haven't realized, I'm a big time, supporter of Donald Trump. So anyway, Kid Rock, when he's going off, he makes joke, I want to body slam Democrats. And, it's funny. You can see so many wrestlers stand up. You can see AJ loving it. And that doesn't surprise me. AJ's he's a big time Republican too. It was funny. Like, I wish you can just see the whole audience. Like, some of them are going to be loving it. Others, I saw the Singh brothers look furious, like a face of disgust, not angry, but you can see the whole roster's political affiliations. If you could just seen everyone's face for that one moment. But he went on. He gave he gave a nice speech that everyone needs to get along. Put over a whole bunch of guys, so it was fine. He's also doing the theme song for WrestleMania. And speaking of theme songs, I expect to see him performing at WrestleMania for the American Badass, which will mark the return of the American Badass Undertaker. He's going to play the song American Badass. That's what I've been predicting. I expect that at WrestleMania for sure. That's why I think the main reason he's even here. So up next is Jeff Jarrett, and Road Dogg's inducting him. Not surprising. Road Dogg's a guy who... Those guys are really close. I think one of the main reasons Jeff Jarrett's even in the Hall of Fame is because of Road Dogg. Those two, he has definitely a connection there. So, a lot of people don't like Jeff Jarrett. I've never been a big fan of his, especially in WWE. He's doing the gimmick, and I'm thinking to myself, so is he going to mention TNA? If there's ever been a guy who should be allowed to mention TNA, it's him, because he pretty much started TNA with his father. It's not Kurt Angle, where he was there, for a long time, but, he's still made that major WWE guy. This guy, TNA is his. They can't even... Why can't he mention it? It's such bullshit. Anyway, the one thing I really liked about the speech, when he sings "Sing My Baby Tape," but one thing I think everyone loves is he really put over Owen Hart. He actually almost started to cry, and that was actually definitely a really good moment. No mention of Kurt Angle. He was really emotional here. This is actually one of the best ones. One of the best speeches. This is Hillbilly Jim, and the thing ends when he sings. My Baby Tonight with the Road Dogg. He goes into the crowd and starts singing with some of the wrestlers. Lillian Garcia participated. It was funny, but nobody really knew the words to the song. So I thought it was a good speech by Jarrett. So next guy up, we have the Warrior Award. You have Dana Warrior doing the thing every year, and I think Dana Warrior, it's actually really emotional for her. Actually, it makes sense because 4 years ago, Hall of Fame was in New Orleans. This is probably the first time ever being back in New Orleans when the Ultimate Warrior went into Hall of Fame. Very emotional weekend, devastating weekend for her. Saturday, he's in the Hall of Fame. Sunday, he appears at WrestleMania. He gets his own entrance. Monday, he does the speech on Raw, the infamous speech, and then Tuesday, he dies. So, So the person who gets it here is Jarius Robertson. So Jarius, he has this condition. It's really awful. But, he's one of those kids, you never know it. He's so full of life. He does he was awesome here. I think he was just incredible. He's one of those kids. He's a massive fan. He's not just a fan who likes wrestling. He's a huge fan. He was just going off. He was hilarious. Everyone loved him. He was getting huge cheers. He was really, 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 really enjoyable to watch. Not enjoyable, actually. Really, really. The right word, I guess, would be. He was full of life. To see, even though despite his condition. Well, one thing, it ends. He was great, but it ends with an awesome burn on Cena. I'm sure they helped him. He says, I have a better chance of having a WrestleMania match than John Cena. And I hope he's ready, because I'd rather see Jarius wrestle than John Cena wrestle The Undertaker on Sunday. And I'm not lying. I don't want to see that damn match. Thank you, Jarius. So Mark Henry's up next. Big Show. He does a really good job inducting him. So Henry, he's man, I know he's an emotional guy, but he's super emotional here. He is, he talks about the story about Andre the Giant, how he picked him up when kids knocked him over when he was a kid. I know Henry is mad. He really loves Andre the Giant. I know Andre was his hero, I think, growing up. So Henry, they chant sexual chocolate, and it makes him laugh. he does it. This was an amazing job. He talks about guys who helped him when he was weightlifting. Vince McMahon, how he started wrestling. He had an interesting journey. Mark Henry, obviously 20 years ago. 22 years ago, I think he debuts in '96. Actually, he was as a wrestler. For a while, he was not good. He was bad. And he was just always this guy. But then, I think it's one of those crazy things. 10 years in his career, he went on this awesome run in 2011, the Hall of Pain. That was great. That was some great stuff. And then, the infamous promo with John Cena. He became a legend, and it was a really nice story. And, Mark Henry, again, very proud guy, also very emotional guy. And obviously, look, it's okay. So it was an amazing speech. How it ends is going to be controversial. So he talks about Owen Hart. And Owen Hart, I never realized how close he was with Owen Hart and how close he is with the Hart family, but wow. So here's what he says. So what he says is he asked the camera to zoom in, and he asks Martha Hart. He mentions her. I'm thinking to myself, he's getting really emotional. What? He said Martha Hart? And he says this is not for the company or wrestlers, but he needs to be here. That was that was surprising. He went there. And he goes on. He talks about sexual chocolate, and he was really having a fun time talking about it. He talks about The Rock. He does this thing where he does a sexual chocolate. I mentioned D'Lo, but I'm surprised. I thought D'Lo should have been the guy to introduce him. Nothing gets special. I thought that would have been more appropriate. But this is a really, really great speech by Henry, and he goes through his career. This is a long speech. This is definitely this is an awesome speech by him. And now, so I really enjoyed it. So I think Goldberg's next, right? To go on to Henry stuff. I thought it was going to end. That might have been the best Hall of Fame speech ever. That was up there. That was incredible. So they do this thing with Paige before Goldberg. She shows this thing when they show a scene from Fighting with My Family movie, and it shows the thing with The Rock. He's producing the movie. So Goldberg's out. Goldberg's next. Paul Heyman comes out, and I'm sure he's going to make a Jewish joke. Goldberg wanted me to induct him because we're both Jewish. I think Eric Bischoff should be in this role, but I think Goldberg and Bischoff have heat for something. So, but I don't know. I think this role, I think you have to have Bischoff here. But I have a problem with Heyman, and this could be the last time I hear Heyman talk, because he's been saying if Brock goes, which he's expected to leave, he's gone too. And I expect Brock to go back to the UFC, and I see Heyman, riding off into the sunset, I guess. So when Heyman introduces Goldberg, they give Goldberg the wrestling entrance in which they have the guards in his locker room, and then they escort him through the backstage. He makes his entrance as he should. That was actually great. And it's surprising Brock Lesnar. I know him and Goldberg are good friends. I guess he couldn't even be there. He talks a lot about himself. He praises his parents. He says they they instilled great values in him, and he talks about his career in Georgia, his football career. He played for the Atlanta Falcons, which of course he knew would make him a heel in New Orleans, because the Saints and the Falcons, big rivalry in the NFL. And he talks about he's praising WCW. He talks about DDP. He talks about the match with Hulk Hogan when he won the title. He took a shot at Kevin Nash, which was good because, when he ended the streak, that was such bullshit. He's thinking, he thanked Eric Bischoff. I don't know what the thing with him and Bischoff is, but I guess there's some heat. Basically everyone in WCW, Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, Ron Simmons, Guerreros, Scott Steiner, Lex Luger. It's a very controversial one to bring up. Bobby Heenan, he mentioned, Kevin Sullivan, Arn Anderson. So he's doing a really good job here. And he puts over Jim Ross, and that was really a good moment. JR he got put over a lot, and the fans obviously love him. So Goldberg ends up going really long. I can see his thing. I don't know what this said, but some of the wrestlers seem to be leaving during his speech. It looked like all the wrestlers, when they said almost 70% of it was empty. I don't know, maybe I was supposed to pick on Twitter, but he was giving a long speech. He was going all over the place. It wasn't really a great speech. It was really long, and it was fine. He puts it over and puts the Hall of Fame over. So the Hall of Fame this year was extremely, extremely long. It was probably the longest Hall of Fame ever. It was 3.5 hours. The longest Hall of Fame. It was good. The speeches were really good though, and I enjoyed it overall. But it's definitely a long show. But I thought it was definitely worth the watch, and I enjoy watching the Hall of Fame every year.